This week in Louisiana agriculture.
The 2011 harvest season is showing the trials and tribulations facing farmers. I'm Avery Davidson with that story ahead.
Also, now that the LSU Ag Center is not facing financial exigency, researchers can focus on bringing down food prices for both farmers and consumers. And in Holly Clegg's Trim and Terrific Kitchen this week, Holly and AJ have a healthy dish that's ready for the summer grill. Hello everyone, I'm Michael Dana. Thanks so much for joining us. The combines are rolling as the 2011 harvest season gets underway across Louisiana. Now is the time when farmers and their neighbors find out if all their hard work putting a crop in the ground will pay off as they bring in rice, soybeans, corn, cotton, and sugar. Last year, agriculture contributed $10 billion to the state's economy, but as This Week in Louisiana Agriculture's Avery Davidson shows us, extreme weather conditions are making it tough for farmers to repeat last year's performance.
Clouds of dust behind a pair of combines mark the beginning of the 2011 harvest. And when the dust clears in Johnny Canizaro's soybean field, he finds a stark contrast.
Rain here, no rain there.
The there he's talking about is his field less than a half a mile away. In this field, he's seeing yields of about 45 bushels per acre. Over there, it's less than half of that.
Started off real good, then it went bad. You know, then we got the rain, got everything planted. Then we got the milo cut. Now we're cutting the earlier beans. Some of them are good, some of them are bad.
For Ted Glazer, let's just say he did not see as much good this growing season.
No doubt about it. It's been the toughest one that I've ever faced since farming.
It started with Glazer losing his corn crop to flooding inside the Morganza spillway. Once the waters went down, Glazer planted soybeans on that land.
And we got a 3.5-inch rain on that in about 20 minutes. And the ground was saturated, so we lost 400 acres out of the 700.
In Ray Scheck-Snyder's cornfield, the lack of moisture is the problem. He's averaging about 145 bushels per acre in a year. He was hoping to get 200 bushels per acre.
You can tell from the combine the height of this corn. Normally it would be about 2 to 3 feet taller than it is, and that's kind of a telltale sign when the whole plant's short and just didn't get enough rain to fully grow.
Scheck-Snyder said the same thing about his crop that Glazer and Canizaro said. It costs the same amount of money to grow a good crop as it does a bad one. In Point Capee Parish, I'm Avery Davidson for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture.
Now, to give you an idea of just how unusual this harvest season is for some farmers, Ray Scheck-Snyder says one field he was harvesting had 200 bushels of corn per acre, and that was in the middle of the field, but that yield dropped off to fewer than 50 bushels per acre as his combines got out to the edges of the field. Well, the dry conditions in Texas have our neighboring farmers to the west reeling right now. Many of the crops in the Lone Star State, particularly in West Texas, have all but burned up. The Associated Press reports Texas ag officials saying this year's drought has cost the state $5.2 billion in lost crop and livestock. Texas leads the nation in cotton and cattle production. It's the second largest ag producing state behind California. Now, in 1998, drought cost the state of Texas $13.1 billion in ag losses, the largest farm production loss since the Dust Bowl days. Well, Louisiana's grain sorghum producers have begun to harvest their 2011 crop, and this year, despite the dry spring growing conditions, the crop is looking better than expected. Healthy prices and low insect pressure have contributed to the success of this year's milo harvest. LSU Ag Center corn specialist Dr. John Cruz says milo has averaged about 100 bushels to the acre and in some parts of Louisiana has out-yielded corn. Cruz explained that milo's resistance to dry weather conditions might have caused the 2011 crop to stand out.
We have definitely suffered through a drought situation in Louisiana and across the state. The folks that were growing the different grains, corn and milo, all suffered under the same conditions. But overall, milo is more drought resistant, certainly compared to corn, and it was able to handle the lack of rain showers a lot better, and was able to get through some of those periods where the soil started to dry out, and it's really starting to show up in the yields.
Louisiana farmers grew 122,360 acres of milo this year. Cruz says grain sorghum is an excellent rotational crop for cotton and corn. Well, LSU Ag Center Chancellor Dr. Bill Richardson recently announced that he will not ask the LSU Board of Supervisors for financial exigency. That would have allowed Richardson to make personnel cuts regardless of tenure. With those worries relaxed now, the LSU Ag Center and its researchers are able to better focus on what they do best, research ways to grow food cheaper and more efficiently. Toby Blanchard has the latest from the Dean Lee Research Station.
Seed treatments have replaced many soil insecticides that farmers use to control insects that attack cotton seedlings. Farmers gathered at the LSU Ag Center Dean Lee Research and Extension Center Field Day learned that those treatments aren't always enough.
Unfortunately, because of the small doses of the product that's put on the seed, we don't have the same level of residual control after the plants emerge as we would see with much heavier doses of a soil insecticide applied at planting.
Farmers will have to put out foliar sprays at the appropriate time to best manage insects such as thrips. In other cotton research, LSU Ag Center agronomist Brooks Blanche planted 9 different cotton varieties with various seed treatments on 6 different dates.
It's not so much about the planting date as it is about the cotton variety, which ones tend to do well early and which ones can do well across all those planting dates.
The research can help farmers make decisions about what variety to plant based on when they plant and what weather conditions may be like. Planting has run late for this year's soybean crop.
We've been planting soybeans into the middle of July this year, which is very risky because as we get late in the season, after mid-June, we really have a potential for low-yielding soybeans if we don't get the right weather conditions.
Levy says with high prices, growers are willing to take the risk. He is conducting a soybean demonstration trial at the research station.
We can try to pinpoint some of the production practices or some of the treatments that we can use to improve or increase soybean yields.
Farmers at the field day also heard about research on weed, disease, and nematode management. For This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, this is Toby Blanchard with the LSU Ag Center.
Research at the Dean Lee Station is funded in part by Cotton Incorporated and the Louisiana Soybean and Grain Board. In 2 weeks, the TWILA team will travel to Turkey to showcase the agriculture of that country. This Week in Louisiana Agriculture was invited to Turkey by the Atlas Foundation of Baton Rouge. Now to tell us more about Atlas and our upcoming trip to Turkey, here's Avery Davidson with this week's in-studio guest. Avery?
Mike, as you mentioned, we are looking forward to this trip to Turkey to share their story of agriculture with our viewers here in Louisiana. Joining me now is the head of the Atlas Foundation, Bilal Haji Galari. Bilal, thank you for joining us here on This Week in Louisiana Agriculture. Tell us a little bit about what the Atlas Foundation does.
Thank you for having me. Atlas Foundation, it is basically try to have create bridges between the cultures, between the states, and between the communities. But before I start what we do, and let me give you some history about the Atlas Foundation. And several Turkish friends and American friends, and we founded Atlas Foundation in April 2002 in New Orleans. And since then, actually, we do what we do. We have friendship dinners, we have cooking classes, we have language classes, and also we are very active for community activities. And cooking classes are very, very popular among our American friends and Louisianians. And you know, because you know, Louisianians and we Turkish people will like to eat.
Oh, we love to eat.
As you know, Turkish cuisine, it is very popular and it is one of the top cuisine in the world. And why? Because Turkish cuisine, it's that richness is coming from the agriculture we have in Anatolia. Historically, Anatolia being the cradle of civilizations, and because of that, and many culture, many civilizations brought their culture to Anatolia. And today we have a mixed culture and mixed cuisine in Anatolia. And Istanbul being the capital city for almost 500 years, and it has changed, you know, a lot.
And the people are very rich with culture there. I mean, obviously, Turkey's location there, the bridge between Europe and Asia, puts it in a very unique position to where you have this cultural blend come in. How did that and the agriculture sort of drive where we are with Turkey today?
You are totally right, because you know, Turkey is a great place and climate is perfect. In some places in Turkey, even you can get 4 times in a year harvest, different types of products. And that is give a Turkey a unique position. And because of that, and Europe and Africa and Asia is very close to Turkey. And as you mentioned, especially Istanbul location is between Europe and Asia, and the transportation, it is easy from Turkey. And rather than to buy these products from the far countries, and they want to have from Turkey, especially European countries and Russia. And because their climate is very cold, not like Turkey.
Well, I know that you mentioned that people in Louisiana and people in Turkey both love to eat. I've noticed in my travels around the United States and a little bit abroad that typically farmers are almost the same anywhere you go. What are the similarities you see between the people and farmers of Turkey and the people and farmers of Louisiana?
Actually, farmers everywhere, farmers, they are, there is no big differences. But the thing is, especially in Turkey, and these farmers from generations to generation have the same business, and they never changed. And the other big differences between the United States and Turkey, and United States, they have more technology in farms than in Turkey. And we can say, especially in the fruits, the fruits in Turkey, they are more organic. Almost it is nature from 100 years ago, and it is the same way they harvest today. And for example, hazelnut, it is the same way, because you cannot send the nations to over top mountains to get the hazelnuts. And what you do, it's human beings, and they get the hazelnuts from top of the mountains.
Well, Bilal, I appreciate you presenting us with this opportunity. Is Bilal Haji Galari with the Atlas Foundation. So Mike, coming in September, we will be sharing this story of agriculture with you and our viewers, and we're really looking forward to showing how farmers across the globe really have more in common than not.
Avery Davidson, thanks. Still to come on This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, we are back in Holly Clegg's trim and terrific kitchen for a summertime favorite. But first, Kristen Oakes shows us how the Italians cool off with a sweet treat in this week's Ag Minute. Stay with us. It's now time for my favorite segment of the show, the Ag Minute. Of course, joining us is Kristen Oakes. And Kristen, I'm always amazed week to week the subject matter you come up with, but this week you're going to call me a self-professed Italian, you're going to call me a self-professed ice cream lover, and given those two, even I had no idea what this Ag Minute is about.
Well, then you should be very ashamed giving those two facts. But the dessert is spumoni. And if you've never heard of the Italian dessert, that's quite all right, because you're not alone. In fact, many Americans, myself included, have never indulged in one of the sweetest treats Italy has to offer. But trust me, as the Italians say, it's esquisito.
They call it spumone, but in Italy, it's amore. In the late 1800s, Italian ice cream makers from the city of Naples combined 3 or 4 ice cream flavors in the same container to give customers a taste of each one. They tested many different flavor combinations, but one in particular stuck. The spumoni recipe, they called it, combined 3 layers of flavors: chocolate, pistachio, and cherry. Crushed nuts, candied fruits, and whipped cream separated the 3 flavors of ice cream. The different layers complemented each other to create a unique and very sweet taste. When the Neapolitans immigrated to America, they brought their famous spumoni recipe with them. But the sensational dessert was a little too rich for Americans' taste buds. So they altered the recipe to include the favorite ice cream flavors of the time: chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. And the Neapolitan flavor was born. While the Neapolitan is more popular in the U.S., the original spumoni is still an old Italian favorite. And if you search long enough, you can find authentic Italian restaurants right here in America that still serve that original recipe. And as they say in Italy, buon appetito!
And although Italians eat the dish year-round, many Americans consider spumoni a winter dessert. They pair the treat with butter cookies after holiday meals. Moving on to everyone's favorite, TWILA trivia. Last week's question was, during World War II, how many ounces of sugar could Americans buy per week due to rationing? And the answer is C, 10 ounces. For this week's trivia, which New Orleans shop is famous for its spumoni and other Italian sweet treats? Is it A, Cafe Giovanni, B, Bricato's, or C, Gambino's? Log on to our website, twilatv.org, submit your answer, and because it's a Holly Clegg week, we'll send you a copy of Holly Clegg's cookbook with a lot of Italian dishes in it, I'm sure.
And I have to tell you, just watching that story, if I weren't on a diet, I'd go home and make that thing today. Kristen Oakes, thanks. Well, Louisiana beef is taking center stage in this edition of Holly Clegg's Trim and Terrific Kitchen as Holly and AJ show us how to put a little Asian zing into the backyard barbecue.
Holly Clegg's Trim and Terrific Kitchen is brought to you by the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board, Louisiana Crawfish, ask before you eat, and by the Louisiana Rice Promotion Board, Rice, a world of great ideas, and by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council. Beef, it's what's for dinner. Kitchen facilities provided by the Around Town television show.
Hey there, folks. Welcome to Holly Clegg's Trim and Terrific Kitchen. I am AJ Bean, of course, with Holly Clegg. And Holly, it is hot, hot, hot outside. It's August, but you have a cool dish for us. Tell us about it.
Absolutely. It's hot outside, and we think of burgers, grilling,
yes.
kids, people, and it's easy to do, something easy. But this is a fun little burger dish. It's called Asian sliders with pineapple salsa.
That sounds delicious.
So it has
what goes into it?
Okay, we're going to start with our Louisiana ground meat.
Okay.
And I bet you didn't know, is what you want to always look for when you're buying ground beef is you want to look for it in a loin or a round. That's your leanest cuts. I'm a beef girl, so.
Absolutely. And Holly, since you are Trim and Terrific, beef, there are 19 cuts of beef that are leaner than a chicken thigh, folks. Do you believe that?
That's
it's amazing.
Right. That's right. So it's a great dish to have. This is sort of fun. We're going to do a little green onions, a little ginger.
And what is this? Can I help?
No, you can't. This is for afterwards.
Sorry.
Okay, here, I'll let you stir.
Okay, I'm going to stir.
And this is panko breadcrumbs. If you don't have them, you could use Italian. But panko breadcrumbs are Japanese breadcrumb, and they're a little coarser. And then we have 2 egg whites. Remember, we're keeping everything trim and terrific. With
And what's the egg whites for?
It's to bind your meat together and keep it real moist. And a little minced garlic.
A little garlic, all right.
Okay. So you want to mix this well.
Right.
Voila, with magic of a television.
How about that?
You want to form them into little burgers about whatever size bun you're using. And I buy these little buns, Hawaiian buns. Do it like that. Now, we're going to brush it to give it just that little sweetness, Asian flavor with a little hoisin sauce.
Now, Holly, you can do this on the barbecue grill, can't you?
You could. In fact, if you wanted to, you could make big burgers. But it's sort of fun to do little sliders.
That sounds delicious.
And here's another tip. Line your pan, your baking pan with foil, because that way it's easy cleanup. And I'm into easy cleanup and easy kitchen and convenience. So
absolutely.
You're going to pop this in the oven at 450 for about 8 to 10 minutes, or if you're doing it on the grill, watch it closely.
And you can really smell the hoisin sauce, giving it that Asian twist. It really smells good.
Right. Now we're going to finish it up with salsa, so let that cook, and let's whip up this salsa very quickly.
Now, what do we have in here?
This is just crushed pineapple.
All right.
And then I'm going to let you add a little, that's green onions.
All right.
And, you know, cilantro. A lot of people have a version. You either love it or don't like it.
I love it.
Okay.
Absolutely
well, then we're going to use it today.
All right, good.
I was going to see if you liked it. Okay.
Absolutely.
And a little jalapeno pepper.
Little jalapenos?
Yes. Okay, and then just to give it that last flavor is the Nakano seasoned rice vinegars, which are a pantry staple of vinegars for me. Splashes on a little flavor. You know, we in Louisiana like things spicy, so I'm going to go with the red pepper, but you could use a natural flavor too.
Now, how is that going to, the vinegar going to play against the sweetness of the pineapple?
Yeah, and it's perfect. It sort of pops out the flavors of whatever you're using, and it's great on a salad or even some fresh vegetables grilled. Just throw on some vinegar. You'd be surprised at the flavor. Okay, now we're going to finish it up. So our burgers are baked, and you put them in your little rolls, and I'm going to let you dish on a little salsa.
Okay, now before I put the salsa in, when we come back, Holly's going to show us how everything looks. Plus, you got a little thing to go with this, right?
Of course.
We'll be right back. Stick around. All right, folks, we're back. Thank you so much for sticking around. And Holly, we'd like to thank the Around Town TV show for allowing us to use their beautiful set. Now, we have the salsa that goes on the hamburger. Tell folks again, what's in this salsa?
Very simple, just a few ingredients, some crushed pineapple, little cilantro, if you like it or not, green onions, a tad bit of jalapeno, and Nakano seasoned rice vinegar finishes it off. This you actually could use with anything. It's wonderful.
Cool.
To serve as salsa. Now,
and what's in the burgers again?
Now, these are little Asian burgers that we made with our Louisiana beef, and I use ground sirloin, again, which is your leanest cut of beef.
Oops.
And you just put a little salsa on it and wrap them up, and look how cute they are. And
beautiful.
You see the hoisin sauce on the top just gives it a light, subtle glaze. And of course,
so Holly, I have to try one of these. May I have one,
yes,
please?
the proof is always in the tasting. And while he is trying that, if you want this recipes or anything else I have going on, you can go to my website, which is hollyclegg.com, and you're going to want to sign up for my monthly newsletter because I have all kinds of good tips and recipes on it every month. My blog, healthycooking.com, and of course, to watch this segment as well as the recipes and everything else, you can go to twilatv.org. I'm doing all the work and he's doing all the eating. Something's wrong with this picture.
You can really taste the vinegar playing up against the pineapple. It's really good.
Well, I'm a burger kind of girl, and this is a little switch using our wonderful Louisiana beef into a different burger. So have fun with burgers. It doesn't always have to be just plain.
Really. Excellent. Thank you, Holly, and thank you folks out there for tuning in. We'll see you next month.
Holly Clegg's Trim and Terrific Kitchen was brought to you by the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board, Louisiana Crawfish, Ask Before You Eat, and by the Louisiana Rice Promotion Board, Rice, a world of great ideas, and by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council, Beef, it's what's for dinner. Kitchen facilities provided by the Around Town television show.
One of the factors that keeps food prices consistent is the stocks-to-use ratio. Right now, the grain markets have been going back and forth over whether or not we'll have enough grain to add to our surplus come harvest time. Joining us now with this week's Bottom Line is Neil Melanson. And Neil, after the recent USDA report, are we any closer to what traders were expecting as far as the stocks-use report goes?
Well, Mike, actually, the USDA report was a rather bullish one, with the USDA finally taking into account all of the acres lost due to a wet and cold spring for most places in the country. We still haven't factored in losses due to the summer weather, though, so overall the crop forecast looks like it's headed towards a smaller one than expected. Looking at the figures as of August, the corn crop is expected to be about 100 million bushels less than the trade estimates and about 500 million less than the July figures. Soybeans lost about 200 million bushels, but that was pretty much in line with what the industry expected. The carryout is going to be the biggest number looked at come harvest because that's going to set the tone for the next year's pace, and once again the USDA clipped the amount of grain expected to be in reserve by pretty much the same numbers for both corn and beans. Now, both those figures are still low and could go lower yet, as there could be a greater toll from the heat wave that rolled across the Corn Belt this summer. The bottom line is that October numbers will be the most telling, but this report is still more evidence that the crop this year is not living up to expectations. I expect we'll see the next report to show an even further drop. However, the one thing I could think of that could lend to a larger carryout this year is the drop in feed usage due to the smaller livestock herd that's at its lowest level since the 1950s. Of course, with the drought in Texas burning up pasture lands, Mike, that may call for more feed grain usage as well. So overall, we've got a lot of support for prices right now.
And Neil, it certainly does not look like we're going to get any break at the supermarket anytime soon. Neil Melanson, thanks. And remember, you can listen to Neil's reports on the Louisiana Farm Bureau Radio Network. For a list of stations where you can tune in or listen online, click on over to our website, twilatv.org, and look for the LFB radio link on the left side of the home page. That does it for this edition of This Week in Louisiana Agriculture. Join us next week when Avery Davidson shows us the animals that can cause problems for farmers and ranchers and the best ways to prevent them from becoming a nuisance to you. Until then, you can watch any of our stories online. Visit our website at twilatv.org. For all of us here at This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, I'm Michael Dana. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Hope to see you again right here next week.